Welcome to another edition of Trader Talk TV. Today we have Emily Riley from Ghostery.
Yes.
Emily, thanks for coming to the office.
Thanks for having me.
Before we just jump in and see what Ghostery's doing these days, we're going to talk about what the CMO should know. Visibility on the tags and third parties are active on the CMO site. So Emily, just give us an overview of what Ghostery's doing now. I know you've done a little pivot, so let's give us the sort of the elevator pitch, if you could.
Sure. So we provide marketing cloud management to the office of the CMO because we believe the CIO and CMO need to collaborate on digital technology. So basically our system uses our Ghostery panel, which is 18 million people, to get a view on all of the different vendors that have direct access to a big brand's website. And we just reveal all of that and allow somebody to manage all of those vendors much more quickly and easily than they ever had before.
Okay. So let's just jump into the nitty-gritty of today's episode. Exactly what the CMO is seeing. You guys obviously address a lot of this, but it's a big issue. Obviously, the CMOs of, say, big transactional sites, e-commerce sites, have a lot of third-party vendors working on the site, and then they have some activity going on the site that the CMO doesn't know. I mean, can you just give an overview of what's going on at the minute and where the sort of lack of visibility is?
Yeah. Easy to point that out because it's pretty glaring, at least to us. So, you look at the CMO today and they have a big digital budget, which is why this matters now. Digital is, 15–20% of their budget at this point. And they have their little minions. So, they have the e-commerce person and the media person and site ops and social media. And these guys each get their little budget. And then they go off and, this guy does something for the website and this guy does something for media and advertising, and this guy does something for social, and all of a sudden now they have these different vendors they're working with. Maybe they work with 4 vendors or 10 vendors, and then these guys call other vendors, so you place tags on the site, and all of a sudden, oh, well, you know what, the media guy says, this is getting really complicated, I need a tag manager, but then the tag manager makes it even easier to add vendors. And so right here, down here you have the website, and this is what's behind the website, what's powering the website, and here's the customer. So the CMO thinks, oh, digital's great because I get to be so much closer to my customer. But what they're really doing is they're separating themselves from the customer with all of these opaque vendor relationships who can now take the customer's data. So this guy might be reselling it. If this is buycheese.com, maybe they're reselling it to ilovecheese.com and taking the customer with them. And this guy here is slowing the site down. So Walmart did a study, 77% revenue loss for every second of latency on the site.
Whoa.
It's huge, it's real money. But the media team, the social team, all these guys are just thinking, oh, but I drove clicks, look at all the impressions I got, my life is so great. And you have this guy over here on e-commerce going, what the heck is going wrong with my site? Why are my customers leaving in the middle of the shopping cart experience? Why is my site slow? I'm going to go ask the CIO, who is going, I don't know, I had nothing to do with this insanity. So, you have this cloud, we call it the marketing cloud here, and it's cloudy. I mean, nobody can see into it. The CMO is clueless, the CIO has no tools, and these guys have these very different goals that have created this mess and really no way of looking at the benefits versus the costs of all the crap that they've dealt with. So the vendors have all the power, and the brand has no power. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the barriers away and say, look, you can actually see what's going on if you want to. And what you can start doing is applying this thing like 7%, saying, you know what, vendor, you're slowing my site down too much. The benefits of retargeting or whatever you might be doing, just not worth it. But really what we're worried about is, can the CMO be technical enough to manage this? Can the CIO be forward-thinking and creative enough to realize the benefits? They're always at odds. So, you and I were talking about earlier, is there this like chief marketing technologist who really becomes the keeper of the marketing cloud? What we're finding now is it tends to be the more technical marketing team, so e-commerce site operations, where they really understand the value of, like you said, a transactional site, versus an agency or a media team who's really more gold on, oh, but I got all the impressions. I spent your entire budget this month. Aren't I so wonderful? Well, spending that money actually could have hurt more than it helped. So, there's definitely something that the CMO needs to know before they can do this well.
So your product gives visibility into all of this, basically.
Yep, exactly.
Where these tags have been shut off, when they were shut off, what third parties are being, accessed, etc. So are you sort of directing this towards the CMO, or do you? I mean, at the minute you're kind of talking to the CMO.
Yeah.
This gives you complete visibility over. Are you talking to the CIO as well in terms of the conversations you have with both?
Yeah, it depends on the makeup of the company.
Right.
I think in a very old school company, it tends to be site operations or digital analytics, and that can even be they report into a digital team who may report to the CIO or the CMO. At younger, faster companies, so like a company that started online only, the CMO can be pretty technical already because they have a digital operation and they'll get it. You know, especially a CMO that cares about e-commerce, they're going to get it more than a CIO that's very media focused.
Yeah, and do you think that this product is more based towards those people who have like a goal in place, basically, or a transaction?
Exactly. I mean, because you really have to see, you have to be able to take the stars out of your eyes and understand the costs as well as the benefits of retargeting or social or whatever the case may be from a more hard line. So the CIO, for example, has a service level agreement in place with all of their vendors. If you slow my site down, you pay me back.
Okay.
Hardly any contract in our current insane world of marketing tech has those kinds of things, nor can anyone enforce them because they can't see what's going on. But as you can see, it's real money. And so the CMO should really take the hard line and be able to enforce that kind of stuff. It's going to be much more profitable for them.
So going forward, obviously, we talked about this before. I mean, CMO and CIO, there's a massive disconnect between the two of them. You expect CIO to work on pretty big sort of IT projects internally, so media tech would not be their, you know, their expertise area. So, I mean, Scott Brinkworth, who's speaking at ATS London, is always talking about this new role emerging within the media or the marketing function of a company. So, I mean, what type of person do you think this is going to be? Is it going to be a kind of an old school ad tech person and you know, with a marketing background, or how do you envision this role emerging? And are we going to see like you know, old school CTOs from ad tech companies migrating into big brands and doing what they need to do, basically?
Yeah, I mean, old school is probably hard because, like you said, they're dealing with these massive technology purchases, server farms, and you know, other things that drive CRM, and it's relatively unchanging, so they can have a 3-year contract and it doesn't change. Whereas on the marketing side, they're used to every month there's something new they want to spend their budget on, a new technology that comes along. Bert Dumars actually is a perfect example. He was the chief marketing technologist at Newell Rubbermaid. He came out of the CIO's office, but he's a fresh thinker. He liked new tech. And so he started reporting to the CMO right as their site got big and they started doing transactions on the site. And he had the right attitude, which was, I'm going to embrace new tech, but I'm going to put a critical developer's eye on it and weigh the cost with the benefits. I'm going to enforce service level agreements. I'm going to make sure they don't resell my data to my competitors. Because again, he had that critical tech background versus the stars in the eyes. You know, I just want to reach my customer at all costs.
But surely it's much more than ad tech. It's going to be marketing tech as well. You know,
you're right. You're absolutely right.
Analytics and, you know, site optimization, that kind of stuff as well. And
those are the types of tags you put on your most important pages, on your checkout page. And so those are the ones you want to enforce most because that's where your personal PII is. So if they're able to take your data and resell it, it's much bigger of an issue.
And is it in your tool? Does it cover all of that basically? So is it a visualization product? Basically, you go in and you look and they do an audit based on your site, and then you can sort of visualize it. How do you kind of?
So you visualize it. So that's usually the first step. It's almost like an AA program. We say the first step is admitting you have a problem. So just seeing that this is there, it shocks. I mean, we have the easiest first meeting you've ever seen. This picture, we open the computer, we say, this is what your website really looks like, and these are all the companies that have direct access to your customer, and you know, and so then it's a matter of let's get your house in order. And then let's maintain. Because, again, a tag manager, if the agency has access, all of a sudden a couple of new companies show up there that you have no relationship with. Who knows what that contract is, how much they're slowing your site down.
I can only imagine what the latency problem is, because we have Ghostery running on our site, or running on the browser, and I can see there's like 20, 30 tags on ExchangeWare.com alone. Just because of like WordPress and third-party tags is shooting off, you know, requests to other third-party.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, we did the Telegraph in the Netherlands. We did a case study with them where they cleaned up their tags. 68% improvement in site latency.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, so it's not just a big brand. A lot of publishers are finding the same problem. And I feel bad for them because they want to do what the agency says. The agency says, you want this RFP, you want this IO, you have to put this tag on your site. They feel obligated to say yes, but they're not weighing the costs. What if this is causing my readers to leave the site because my site won't load? And
clearly there's a problem as well around data leakage. You know, if someone's on on a site, and you know, they're shooting off this third-party player coming in here, putting a tag on their site, and they are basically building segments around that user and then selling the segments to a competitor. Clearly, there's an issue around that as well.
Yeah, in the US, we actually have a client who will go unnamed who was doing QA on their site, bought a product, and then was targeted by their competitor with an ad minutes later in their Yahoo account.
Wow.
So it's absolutely happening.
And this is a massive problem then.
Massive. Yeah.
And I mean, are the marketers, CMOs now taking this seriously? I mean, like, for years, obviously, they let this thing slide, but it's clearly not. It's big on their radar now.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of site they have. The more the site is valued, so if there's a lot of purchasing on the site, the transactions account for a big percentage of their overall revenue, they're going to care a lot more about this than if it's a lightweight brand site that's just meant to message the brand and then you go into the store and buy. But I think over time, you're going to see this become a pretty standard practice, just like the CIO now manages their vendors with standard contracts. I mean, it's just that the CMO is getting up to speed on managing tech. And
would you be able to, is it the next iteration of your platform potentially, or product, being able to manage these vendors? Is that something you're looking at? Or?
Exactly. So we're creating a vendor workflow that'll be almost like Salesforce.
Okay.
So you have the ability to take care of the entire relationship from start to finish, manage, monitor, etc. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Emily, thanks very much for that overview of the problems the CMO faces in the current ecosystem, and thanks for an overview of the product as well.
Great, thanks for having me.
Okay, and we'll see you next time on Trade Talk TV.